So it has been a very busy morning for video game news, which, I mean, it's kind of weird considering Gamescom starts tomorrow, but there's two pieces of information floating around out there that we definitely need to cover, including a Nintendo Direct happening tomorrow. Yes, I'm serious, and it gets more bizarre the more you learn about it. So, if this is your first time on the channel, hit that subscribe button, pal. Be sure to like the video as well. But let's go ahead and talk about what's happening with the world of video games. And the first thing we're going to talk about is a surprise announcement for the Nintendo Switch 2, the PlayStation 5, and the Xbox Series platform, along with the PC. And that involves a game franchise that I absolutely love, but this is the worst game in the game franchise. And we're talking about Shenmue with Shenmue 3 Enhanced Edition, because yes, folks, Shenmue 3 Enhanced Edition has indeed been announced as coming to the PS5, Xbox Series, Nintendo Switch 2, and PC. Now, I'll be showing the footage from the original Shenmue 3 trailer in this video, as there is not a trailer for this, but we did learn about what's going to be changed in this version of the game. There's going to be enhanced graphics and performance, 4K textures, DLSS/FSR, increased NPC density, classic camera mode, gameplay tweaks, improved interactions, menu/user experience enhancements, and there's also major changes optional, which really wasn't elaborated on as far as what that really means. And on the surface level, you would think I would be like super excited for this, because like Shenmue 1 and 2 are some of my favorite games of all time. Really, Shenmue 1 is like, I just feel like it's the best Shenmue, and I know that there's people that love Shenmue 2 a bit more than 1, but for me, Shenmue 1 was just such like a groundbreaking experience. And when Shenmue 3 finally came out so many years later, like, it was definitely a bit of a disappointment, and it wasn't even necessarily because of the gameplay. Like, the gameplay was not great, and there were some definite flaws within it. They introduced some new systems into the game as well, which I didn't really care for. But the real problem with Shenmue 3 wasn't really all of that sort of stuff. It was the story itself, because the story didn't really do anything to progress the Shenmue franchise like we had wanted it to. It should have been the closing chapter for Shenmue, but it wasn't. It was just more of this kind of, you know, dangling a carrot in front of your face, and, you know, hopefully you come along for the ride, and it's like, bro, are we even going to get a Shenmue 4 to get some sort of closure on things with this? You know, not getting into the spoiler side of things, but it definitely was a bit of a letdown. And I don't know, this is kind of a curious release, especially on the Nintendo Switch 2, primarily because, well, we don't have Shenmue 1 and 2 on the system. And I understand that those are Sega games, and we got Shenmue 1 and 2 HD that came out, you know, almost a decade ago for the PS4, Xbox, but there was no Switch version of the game, and I feel like you're missing out on quite a lot by not having that. Now, the company that has the rights to Shenmue 3 is a company called ININ, and they don't have the rights to Shenmue 1 and 2, so that would be something that would fall on Sega, and Sega is obviously much more interested in putting all of the Yakuza games on the Nintendo Switch 2 instead of Shenmue 1 and 2, which breaks my little heart. But I don't know, like, I'll definitely play it, of course, because I want to see what the improvements are. You know, I want to see how they've improved the gameplay, how they've improved the world and stuff like that. The improved interactions does sound, you know, like a good thing as well, but I'm being very cautious with this because, you know, at its core, it's still the same game. It's not like they're adding in a bunch of story elements to try and make things better, but, you know, maybe they'll surprise people and do something like that. But I don't know. It just sounds like an enhanced version, kind of like it says in the name, Shenmue 3 Enhanced, an enhanced version of a game that definitely missed the mark for a lot of Shenmue fans when it first came out, and for some people it didn't really adopt any sort of, you know, like new gameplay feelings that you would expect in a more modern game, so they didn't like it either. Shenmue is a very slow-paced game, a narrative-driven game, where the combat and the action, you know, kind of takes a back seat to the story and the world building itself, and I don't think a lot of gamers fully understood that. But I'm going to try and keep an open mind with this. I'm not a Shenmue 3 fan. There's a Shenmue 3 burial video on this channel that you can check out. But yeah, Shenmue 3 Advanced, or Enhanced, I should say, coming to Switch 2, PS5, Xbox, and PC. Are you interested in this game? Let me know in the comments section down below. And boy, oh boy. So there's a Nintendo Direct tomorrow. You know, it's 45 minutes long. And with those two things being said, you would get very excited. You'd be like, finally, we got the general Nintendo Direct happening. It's 45 minutes long. We're going to learn about a bunch of games. But spoiler alert, it is a game-dedicated Nintendo Direct for Kirby Air Riders. A 45-minute presentation for Kirby Air Riders will be taking place tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, hosted by Mr. Sakurai. And this is 45 minutes long for Kirby Air Riders. Now, to be clear with you guys, I wasn't the biggest Kirby Air Rider fan on the GameCube. I thought it was fine. You know, it was an interesting game, but it was never anything that I really gravitated towards. It wasn't really anything I played much. But a sequel to the game does sound very cool and interesting. In case you're unfamiliar, Kirby Air Riders is a racing game at its core. And so, you know, racing games are always fun. But a 45-minute presentation for a racing game, this sounds kind of weird to me, because Mario Kart World did not have a 45-minute presentation, and that was a complete transformation of Mario Kart as we knew it, with, you know, open world aspects and different types of races and stuff like that. Like, it was a completely different experience than previous Mario Kart entries, and that did not get 45 minutes. So I almost feel like there's something more to Kirby Air Riders than just being a simple sequel to the original game. I feel like there has to be some sort of story element in the game as well. Maybe some side stuff you do in the game, because a 45-minute dedicated presentation to one single game definitely feels a little bit like overkill to me, unless you have a lot of stuff to show off with this. Unless there is some sizzle to this steak that nobody anticipated being here with this game. So I'm very interested in this. Would I have rather have had, you know, the general Nintendo Direct, like 100%, because, you know, how much new stuff is going to be in this that you really need to take up 45 minutes. But if they manage to fill the 45 minutes out with tons of stuff, maybe, you know, a surprise drop of the original GameCube game on NSO as well, and more importantly, a release date for this game, because we are starting to get into the tail end of 2025, and Kirby Air Riders, along with Metroid Prime 4, and of course, Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment, these games don't have release dates, and this looks like what is going to be our holiday 2025 lineup for the Nintendo Switch 2, so you got to start talking about release dates at some point in time with this game. Some people are theorizing that it could be potentially a September release for the Nintendo Switch 2. I feel like that's kind of a quick turnaround, considering we are more than halfway done with August. You know, maybe at the tail end of September, you can get retailers enough time to kind of get ready for the release of this game. But it's definitely very interesting that this game is getting 45 minutes, because you know, that it's 45 minutes to me. You have to have a lot of stuff to talk about, unless you're talking about like the history of the franchise and like the development of the game up until this point and stuff like that. Like, I don't know. I'm cautiously optimistic about this. I think it could be very cool. It is kind of strange to have Kirby Air Riders and Mario Kart World coming out so soon next to each other, you know, two racing games. It's like, well, you know, usually you'd be more accustomed to two single-player experience games from Nintendo, but we got to wait and see. We got to wait and see with this. Like I said, it takes place at 9 a.m. Eastern Time tomorrow, and I'll be looking forward to this. So, yeah, very busy morning thus far. And then we have Gamescom Opening Night Live taking place tomorrow afternoon. So your boy's going to be locked in. There's going to be lots of coverage tomorrow. We'll be talking, of course, about Kirby Air Riders, and then we'll do a video about Opening Night Live if there's some cool stuff there as well. So let me know in the comment section down below. What do you think about resurrecting Shenmue 3? Do you think that this was the right move for the Lazarus of the Shenmue franchise? Or would you rather have had Shenmue 1 and 2 HD on the Nintendo Switch 2? Because I sure as fuck would have, and I would buy that in a collector's edition if they made one. And of course, Kirby Air Riders. What are you expecting from this Nintendo Direct tomorrow? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments section down below. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. Like I said at the start, if you're new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Be sure to like, comment, and share. Hit the bell as well. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.